It's time to finish the game. Let's go.
Ball, 1st and 10 at the 12-yard line of the Seahawks. Shaun goes right, has a cut back lane, and he does. He's across the 20, the 25, 30, 35, 40. Here he goes. Are they going to catch him? 40, 35, 30, 25, 10, 5. Touchdown, Seahawks. What a run by Shaun Alexander.
Finish the game. We gonna finish the game. Yeah. Finish the game. We gonna finish the game. Yeah. Finish the game.
What's happening, everybody? You hear the music? This is Finish the Game. I'm Shaun Alexander with producer extraordinaire Claude Jennings. What's happening, brother?
Yes, sir, Shaun. I am in our Tacoma Park, Maryland, just outside of Silver Spring and Washington, D.C. studios broadcasting there. You're in the Finish the Game studios. It's going to be a great show.
Oh, it is, man. I'm so excited. We got some big things to talk about. But first of all, happy anniversary. I mean, gosh, 7 years. You're doing it big. You and your beautiful bride, Sierra. Man, congratulations.
Oh, yeah, man. It was, well, number one, thank you for that. And it's so interesting. It was 7 years, but it feels like, we just got married, man, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Time goes by so fast. And so we went to Arizona, spent some time out in Phoenix and in the Scottsdale area, which we loved. Went to the Grand Canyon. That was a great experience. And, man, we just had a lot of fun, Shaun.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Y'all bring the little one? Y'all just go by yourselves?
Oh, we just went by ourselves. Yeah, there was no little one this trip. It was all, it was all us. No kids.
Smart man. Hey, well, so tell me this before we even get going on the show. What is the best marriage advice you've ever had?
Oh, man. Some of the best marriage advice I ever had. So here's what I'll do. I'll give you two pieces of advice. One that was given to me, but then one that I kind of learned along the way. And so one of the best pieces of advice that I've gotten as far as marriage that was given to me was that, you'll encounter problems, but the way you solve problems is by focusing on solutions and not problems. And if you spend a lot of your time focusing on the problems, then it will make your marriage just a lot of tension and just talking about problems, always thinking about it. But if you focus on solutions and focus on what's good and enhancing the good, that makes it a better experience. And I found that to be true. And then the second piece of advice that I learned by being married that I would like to share with someone else is, get to know your spouse, get to know the one you married in a better way, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, and kind of tailor make your marriage to fit your spouse and your situation. A lot of times we try to mimic our marriages after other people. Now, there are foundational truths and principles, I think, that can work in any marriage, you know what I mean, from communication to, the principles of forgiveness and things like that. But, my wife is different from someone else's wife, and I'm a different husband from someone else's husband. And so you have to learn your spouse and tailor make that relationship for the person that you are with. Go ahead, Shaun.
Oh, man, that's a great advice. I mean, because the truth is, every single person is different. So your walk and your relationship might look totally different. Even with that, I've just learned how not to judge my marriage off other people.
Right.
And also help other people not try to compare their marriage with mine. Being a mentor and a big brother to many people, I'm like, no. Like, your marriage is okay if that fits y'all. If it fits God, it fits you all, do it. Right. Some of the greatest advice I got was to just be clear and understanding about the fight for marriage. I mean, it's hard not to be selfish,
Right.
and so you got to just know, like, hey, you got to really fight within yourself to not think about yourself so much. And it's probably the greatest advice. I remember my wife and I, this like always our running joke, she's like, oh, well, Shaun, you're kind of thinking about yourself here and this and that, and you think everybody's listening to you, blah, blah. Well, welcome to Finish the Game. And I would always say, hold on a sec, sweetie, as you're thinking, I'm thinking about that. I'd always open up our sliding glass door, and I'd actually like to make it like a crowd noise. And then, we love you, Shaun. And I close the sliding door. What would you say again, sweetie? And so, like, that's like our running joke. But the truth is that we always have to come back to, let's not think about ourselves as much, and let's think about each other.
Wow.
And it really goes hand in hand with knowing that at the end of the day, your marriage is going to look a little bit different. and it's great. And so, gosh, I'm sitting on year 14, and it's beautiful. 8 kids in 14 years. And so it's really intense over here. And I would say that anybody that's crossed over 10 years, the one thing I just clearly remember all the time, some of the older uncles and aunts and father figures in my life always saying is, Shaun, remember, there's a reason why 50% of the marriages end in divorce.
Wow.
It says most of the times it's because they don't like each other. And so I always just think, hey, you get over a certain period of time, you guys better find things that you like to do with each other.
Wow.
I remember a pastor's wife of a friend of ours said a long time ago, she said, that what kept our marriage together was not the fact that we did anything great. It's just that we like hanging out with each other.
Oh, that's powerful.
Something that simple. And you got to go figure out. And so my wife and I, we're different as night and day. Now we believe in the same things, Jesus, family, obviously, friendships, loyalty, truth, but, after those things, the most important things, then it's kind of like, well, what do you like? She's like, outside. I'm like, inside, hiking, room service, and so we just got, but we actually said, you know what? I'm going to end up, because I love you so much, I'm going to end up learning to like some of the things you like just because I love you. And she's going to learn to like some of the things I like just because she loves me. And so, so think about it. She's like a person that's like a track kind of person. And you know what? I really don't like watching team sports because I kind of really don't feel like I can trust the other person. If I'm running, this is how my wife is. If I'm running, then I'm cool, because if I win or lose, it's on me. Where I'm like, well, I need 5 guys, a big fullback, the quarterback that automates to the right play. I need a lot of people around me to do well. So I love the idea of team sports. Right. So night and day. But slowly I've taught her and loved on her with the ability to be able to say, roll tide, go Hawks, hail to the Redskins. Every now and then I get it out of her, but that's not her style. She's more like, let me just go serve this ace. Let me go put this chip in, what I mean? So I would say for people that are over 10 years, learn to just decide that you're going to find something with your wife that you just like doing, and just make a choice. You know what? I'm just going to like this because I want to like this, and it works for us, and you keep it going, and always praying together always helps, always reading the word. Those are all good foundational things. And then I would say that third thing is figure out something y'all just like doing together. And if you don't like it, go learn how to like it. So
yeah, it's a great point that you had brought up a little earlier, Shaun, about, being friends first and things like that. I find so many times, man, that people have these romantic interests in someone, and that's the first kind of interaction they have with them. And so what happens is they don't develop a friendship. They don't develop a general and a sincere concern or care for that person as a person. Their only concern with them is as a romantic interest. And what happens is that when that romance runs soft, or when someone does something that makes you upset, the one that you're with, there's no friendship or no, like you said, no quote unquote, there that binds you together. You know what I mean? There's nothing in common that holds it together. And so, 1 minute, you're like, oh, I really love this person. We can do a whole show on that word love, but what people say is love sometimes isn't. But they say, oh, I love this person, I want to be with them. But all they're talking about is this romantic interest that they have in there. And so I find that sometimes the best relationships are birthed out of friendships. And so I always encourage some of my single friends, like, man, when you're looking for someone to date, like, pick it out of your group of friends, like out of the group. And I know people are like, oh, this is the friend zone. And look, don't worry about any kind of friend zone. Like, that's where I think you pick your mate, or the person that you want to, because there's already a concern there. There's already a care for this person there. You already have a knowledge of one another, and probably just a general list of things, or some things that you'd like to do together. And there's that concern for that person outside of the romantic, because when somebody gets on your nerves, you ain't feeling too romantic. You know what I mean? So you have to have something there that bridges it all together. Go ahead, Shaun.
Oh, that is so true. I actually tell all the young men that are newly married around me, I say, hey, I'm just going to let you know there will be a season where you don't really feel like you're in love with your bride, you know? And so what do you do with that? Well, you know what? You hang on, you persevere, you actually get back into the things that we just like being around each other. So this little situation is not going to control our lives. And, and it just works, you know, and you're so right on where you need to be friends. And in our case, you know, we were friends and then we were like, oh, this is going to be serious. So then we get married and then all of a sudden we realize how different we are. And then we're like, oh, wait a minute. I don't know if I want to be your friend. You're a little too different. You know, Shaun, you doing a little too much, you know. And I had to tame that down a little bit. And so, but at the end of the day, like we still had to go find things that we like doing together, that we like about each other, and keeping the principles of our life the same. And so, if you do all those things and walk it out, it creates a great team, a championship team, a finishing the game type team, and it just really works. And, you know, I just speaking of that, you know, let's talk about some of the best sports marriages. You know, I was just thinking about some of the best marriages I've seen in sports, and the first thing that popped in my mind was the Carolis, you know, the Olympic coaches that coached all those Olympic girls and won all those Mary Lou Rettins all the way down to Simone, you know. Gosh, you know, I just thought, wow, they were married all these years, working together side by side. And, you know, we're almost taught today, don't do anything with your wife if you want to keep your wife, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I play a lot of golf, and so many times I hear guys talking about, yeah, man, if you know, I need this game so I can stay married. And it's like, oh, well, you need, you know, 5 hours away from your house in order to stay married. Something's wrong there, bro. Something's wrong there.
There's a danger to that. Like, I'm like, hold on a sec. So now your idea of fun or rest is away from your bride. That's not right. So we got to go fix that. And if you young men that are watching this, some of you older men that are not married that are watching this, I would say this. Do not marry her if you think getting away from her is your idea of peace or joy. And those of you that are married, let's go back to the first thing I said. Y'all find something that y'all like about being around each other and work that out.
Oh, man. You're listening to the Finish the Game podcast with Shaun Alexander. I'm Claude Jennings. And so we're talking about, you know, just celebrating my 7th year of being married, a 7-year anniversary to my wife, Sierra. Shaun's been in it for 14 years. And so we're talking about, now we're talking about great married couples. And maybe we'll talk about a couple of pairings, like great just duos in sports too, Shaun.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Greatest duo, me growing up, basketball, the Lakers, Magic Johnson, Kareem, they go do it. Decade later, you know, decades of change later, Shaq and Kobe. I mean, you know what? My dad was a Laker fan, so I ended up always watching the Lakers, and those are the guys I got to watch. Shaq and Magic and Kareem. Couple decades later, Shaq and Kobe. I'm like, man, my Lakers do it, man. They grab dynamic duos.
Right. Well, if you got to go with that, if we're going to do basketball, I'll go Mike and Scotty. I mean, everybody knows Jordan and Pippen. You know, I mean, everyone is like, hey, if you got to start a team with one player in the NBA, right? And you can pick all the other players. Everyone says, give me Jordan. Jordan's the first pick. I'll take Jordan as the first pick, but my second pick is Pippen because Jordan won all those championships with Pippen, and there's something about that great chemistry that you can't just, you know, produce just because another player has talent. So give me Jordan and Pippen as my number 1 and number 2.
Wow. I mean, goodness, that's a good one. You know, well, what about today? You know what I mean? I mean, because the way you talk, like, you could just go brag LeBron and then whoever LeBron want to play with, D-Wade, you know, I don't know. But I mean, what do you think about the Splash Brothers?
Well, you know what? I mean, I think that they've got great chemistry, but I feel like, you know, again, before, and they did win a championship a year ago, made the finals again this year, lost in 7 to Cleveland. I think they're a great duo, but they're a duo that needs another. You know, they needed that Draymond Green factor. They needed Andre Iguodala. And so, you know, but when I think current day, I mean, wow, you know, I'm trying to think of a 1-2 punch. I would have said, you know, Westbrook and Durant, but Durant filed for divorce.
Without a doubt.
He filed for divorce a few months ago. But yeah, Westbrook and Durant would have been one of them.
Because, you know, I feel you, because them boys are supersonics. I mean, everybody know them boys are supersonics. I was part of their welcome committee when they got in town. You know what I mean? I don't know what happened. It was a bummer. Well, what about football? Gosh, you know, I think of, you know, you go back in the day, I go right before I started playing. You know, the Dallas Cowboys was so strong, man. I loved Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman. So if I pick two, maybe go Emmitt and Michael. You know what I mean? And Troy just had to be the, he was the preacher of the place. He was the wedding announcer and putting them all together. But man, they was fun, man. The playmaker and the MVP.
I like Young and Rice. Also, I guess you could say either Young and Rice or Montana and Rice. I'd go Young and Rice. Steve Young and
I mean,
Rice.
Gosh.
But I tell you,
Montana to Rice, Young to Rice, Gannon to Rice.
Yeah, right. It didn't really matter, right? But I'll tell you one that I was thinking about as we were doing the show, and it's because one made the other one better, and that's what you want in great relationships, right? Is Dante Culpepper and Randy Moss. I mean, Culpepper was throwing up crazy numbers. A lot of it was because of Randy Moss. I'll go Culpepper and Moss.
Well, I mean, then in that case, you got Brady and Moss. I mean, because Brady was Brady and Moss was Moss. You put them together, would they throw like 150 million touchdowns in one year? You're like, what?
Yeah. And it's so funny because everyone talks about, the argument with, Manning or Brady, man, and people go back and forth, man. I always go to the fact that I'll go Brady because he's done a lot with mediocre receivers. And the one year he had a dynamite star, because Peyton had Marvin Harrison a lot of those years. And so, but the one year he had a dominant star at receiver, he sets all kind of records, and he doesn't lose a game in the regular season, and he loses in the Super Bowl. Like, he's the best, okay, guys? Brady's the best. All right. Yeah. I mean, without a doubt.
Okay, so what about great marriages from player to coach? I'm gonna go with Brady Belichick right off the top. Belichick right off the top.
Yeah, Brady Belichick. That's it. I mean, if I've got to go receiver and coach, I'm gonna go down to my Cowboys. Since you left Aikman out of the Irvin and Emmitt, I'll go Aikman and Jimmy Johnson. I'll do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's solid. I mean, gosh, we could go old school. Joe Montana, Bill Walsh.
Right? Yeah.
What about coach and organization? Well, that's Tom Landry, the Cowboys.
Yeah, I was going to say Jimmy
Johnson, the Cowboys.
Yeah. Although I guess Jimmy Johnson was fired unceremoniously. You couldn't use a lot of those Redskin coaches in the late 90s and in the mid to late 90s.
Joe Gibbs.
Well, yeah, you could use Gibbs
right.
Super Bowl.
We got Joe Gibbs and the Redskins, but then pretty much everybody after Joe Gibbs were like,
Yeah, Spurrier. There was Spurrier. There was Zorn. You couldn't use any of those guys. Maybe not even Gibbs.
Yeah, I think oh man, yeah, no, you're right. And you know what? They played against that one team in Seattle in the playoffs, and
It got blown out.
So man. So it's good, man. So you know what? You gotta, if we actually break it down to who is the greatest coach with the program, you almost want to go back to college. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And some people say Saban and Bama now, but I would go with, man, Bear Bryant. I mean, listen to the way he coaches people. Play that video. Everybody listen to this. Listen to what Bear would say to his team as he came in.
Now, here's why you can win on little things, and we'll be talking with you about little things as long as you're here. On little things and a little something extra. Now, let's just suppose that we say that the maximum ability one can have is 100. That's the way we'll approach it. And let's say here I am, someone that really only has, based on that 100, a 75% or 75 ability. And over here is someone that has 85 that I'm going to play against. Now, it takes everyone, but this is just for you as an individual. Now, on Saturday, by virtue of the fact that you have paid the price, you've learned those lessons, you work on the little things, you are willing to give a little extra. Although you only have 75% ability, you play a little over your head, and we expect you to. Okay, you play, and you'll be an 85 player that day. Now, here's another man over here that's playing against you. Now, this could happen, it don't always happen. That maybe he hasn't played the prize. Maybe he hasn't learned those lessons. Maybe he's not as dedicated as you are. And he doesn't play as well as he's supposed to play. And he falls off 10%, or he falls off 10. He only plays 75. And that's just to illustrate my point. Then you, because of your preparation and the things I'm trying to get across to you, you can beat him because you paid 85. And if we do that as a team, 11 at a time, well, 4 years from now, why, you'll be walking out here as a national champion. And I'll tell you this, I expect nothing less.
See, that's what I'm saying. See, that's coaching right there. See, Barry Bryant walk in there and say, yeah, I mean, let's go do it. And then remember how he came. He was coaching somewhere else and was like, hey, mama called. That's Bama right there. Mama called. It's time to come home, win about 6 championships. Let's do what we do.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's good coaching. You can speak to just how great, a coach, just the quality or the need for great coaching in sports and in life. Sometimes you look at some of these players, you're like, man, they're so talented. Do they really, really even need a coach? The answer is yes, and that goes for life. I mean, you can be talented, you can have a lot of things going on for you, but you still need a mentor. You need someone to coach you along in life. And I mean, let's not overlook your guy now, man, Saban, man.
No, he's real deal, and I would tell you, the guys that buy into the system on the field are champions, but the guys that buy into Saban's discipline, hard work, we're not caring about the scoreboard. We're going to do life and do every play the best of our ability, one play at a time, one day at a time, one meeting at a time, 1 second at a time. The guys that do life like that, they're going to be successful too, and it's because that's really how you do it. I'm always pouring into my own kids. Look. You all have a life that I couldn't even thought about when I was your age. And so my job is to make you not feel comfortable. If I say the thing that always damages people from becoming great at whatever, it could be just being a student in a school, in a classroom. It's usually that they're comfortable with whatever they do. And for me, I can't do that. I've got to always press you to never be comfortable. I actually had one of my kids running laps at the house because she got in trouble. And she had to go run to the gate and back in 50 seconds. And I knew that she could get it in 52. But she ran it, got back in 54. So you're being lazy. You got to run 3 of them. Run again, 52. Oh, nope, you didn't get it. Run again, and 51. And you start seeing the tears come down her eyes because she knew that she wasn't going to be able to get it in 50 unless she dug deep. And I looked at her and I said, now here's what's happening. This is real world. You've ran 3 times, but in the real world, you've done nothing. Now let's run. And she ran the next 3, 50 seconds, boom, boom, across all of them before that. She was breathing hard, crying for being disrespectful to mommy and daddy. And so had a great attitude ever since,
Wow.
But it was a lesson within the lesson of, hey, I can't let you just think because it's going good and you can be smart aleck or be wishy-washy and whatever you want to do. You're going to earn the name that you have.
Wow.
And let's not be scared of that. And that's what Saban does. And speaking of that, here in Finish the Game studio, I have a special announcement because, September 21st will forever be a special day to me. In the studio with me is my oldest daughter, Heaven Alexander. Heaven, how you doing, sweetie?
Good.
That's good. So Heaven's not going to say anything else. Heaven, welcome to the Finish the Game audience. They'll all hear your voice and they'll all be like, ooh, who is this beautiful woman of God? And I'll say, get away from her. That's my child. I pick her husband. You know how it is. But she is 13 today.
Man, no, get out of here. Teenager.
Yes.
Oh, man.
I am old enough to have a teenager.
Look at that.
This is crazy to me.
So the question is, how do you feel having a teenager? And then now that you've got a teenager, not just a teenager, but a teenage daughter in the house, what in the world are you going to do? What's some advice, man, for not just teenagers, but for parents of teenagers?
Gosh, if I would give my advice, this is what I told her this morning. And I would tell this advice to other people because I was given this advice that to let my daughter know, let my teenage child know that if I say something to them that they disagree with, and then later on in life they realize that I am right, don't bite your teeth to try to prove me wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Because guess what? Your child is still going to try to venture out on life. As scary as it is to say that. But what I am doing is saying, hey, look, this is going to happen and you're going to have these desires, these wishes, these dreams. And I'm going to look at that and say, look, that's a train wreck waiting to happen. once you see you about to run into this train that's coming down the other side,
go ahead.
Don't try to stay on the track just to prove me wrong. No. Just know, like, I'm on your side. I'm just giving you the best advice I can. If you see it, don't try to prove me wrong. Just stop what you're doing and say, ooh, Dad was right on this one. Let me jump off the track. Wow. And so I would say that's a good advice for a parent to give a teen right out the gate. And then for you parents, I would always say this, and my wife and I are fully believing on this. Let's go after the child's heart. Train their heart, speak to their heart, discipline their heart. And that's always about who they are. You're going to mold their heart. You're giving them their real identity. This is who you are. And so for me, like, I'll go all through the Bible and I'll say, hey, the Bible says that when you love Jesus, you're an ambassador for his kingdom. So who are you? Oh, that means I speak on behalf of Jesus? Yeah, hey, so you got to watch the words you say. Wow. The Bible also says that you're a temple of the Holy Spirit. So that means that whatever you put in you, you mix them with the Holy Spirit. So this is how you can. So this is who you are. So whenever, you're not a liar, you're not a cheater. Have you lied before? Yeah. Have you stolen something before? Yeah. Have you cheated in a game? I didn't know you caught me. Well, hey, you know what? But that's not who you are. This is who you really are. And so sometimes you're going to have to manage their feelings or the actions that they do and let them know that that's not who they are. And you keep pointing them into who they are. It's basically the separation between identity and emotions and actions. Wow. And so, yes, your emotions and actions will sometimes paint the picture of who you are. But if you actually keep on training who they are, they'll eventually either believe it, and then they'll shift their emotions and actions, or they'll totally be like, I could never do that. And then you just got a lot more training to do. You know what I mean? And that's just part of the game.
Yeah, no, sure. That's so powerful, man. And it's so interesting because when I think about when, long time ago when I was a teenager, one of the things, that I would offer to teenagers is, man, you have a lot of life to live. Sometimes you'll encounter things, whether it's this kind of a disappointment or failure, or things didn't work out, or friendships breaking up, or things like that. And you think it's just the end of the world and there's no way to rebound, or if these people don't like me, I'm never going to. There isn't a never. I mean, you have a lot of life to live, and so understand that. But conversely, time is on your side, but you've got to respect it. You've got to respect time, and you've got to use it wisely. Ephesians 5:15 says, see that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil. And it's like, you can always make more money back. You can always find, new friends or associates, but you can't get back time that's already spent. Every second is spent. And so you've got to use that wisely and take into consideration that what am I doing right now with my time? What am I doing tomorrow? Is this time being spent wisely? And with those two things in mind, and try to achieve the best with every moment, I think you can look back with hopefully and prayerfully very little regrets, especially when it comes to time wasted.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that 100%. And you know what I was also thinking? I always say this to my kids. Never let your curiosity allow you to ignore what you already know.
Wow. Yeah,
you go back to that again. Wow. Never let your curiosity allow you to ignore what you already know. Hey, I wonder what happens if I touch this stove. Now, you already know what happens if you touch the stove. I know you're curious because the smells good in the oven, but if you touch the stove, it's going to burn you because the stove is hot. And so never let your curiosity control that. So I'm having a teenager now, and I've got to know more than ever before. Emotions will be high. Curiosities will be high. So my job is to give her, and then all the rest of them, give them enough knowledge to know truth. And then say, oh, okay, you're feeling that. Your emotions are taking you there. But guess what? That's more curiosity than truth. Mm-hmm. And so then they can make a real decision. Now, let's make a decision off of truth, not off of what you're feeling. Let's make a decision off of truth, not off of what you're curious about. Because guess what? Sometimes the curiosity can cost you way more. There's people that are still, 10, 20, 30 years later that are still paying for the actions of curiosity. And so I'm saying if you didn't know, then you know what? I get it. You made a good try. You made a gut effort. And so parents on that end, make sure you give your kids truth. Make sure you give them the knowledge so that curiosity doesn't go on running through their mind or in their heart without any truth around it, without any knowledge around it. But for you teens, you high school, some of you college kids, don't let curiosity cost you everything. Especially if you already know what's going to happen.
Wow, that's so powerful. And I mean, and you talk about, especially in this age of a lot of the technology with cell phones and, you know, videos and pictures and stuff like that. You know, there are some things that can follow you throughout your, you know, adulthood life. And so you want to make sure that these decisions that you make, you think long term, you think about tomorrow, you think about 10 years from now, you think about when you're going to be a parent, when you're going to be a dad, or you're going to be a mom yourself, and what kind of things you want to follow. What do you want to be said about your name? What do you want to be said about who you are as a person, and live today to establish that legacy. You know, if I were to leave this earth today, what will people say about me? And that's how you want to live each moment, not reckless.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to live knowing that there's going to be a final game and a final quarter, and have your mind set up with that. And then you make your plans off of that. And look, there's fun with that. And guess what? It's going to rub some people that you label friends the wrong way. But guess what? It's okay. You know, I would think about that too. Another advice I would give to teens, and my daughter's still sitting here in the studio, I would just say, hey, not everyone around you is a friend. Not everyone around you is really a loyal friend.
Wow.
And so it's okay. So to me, I've just kind of always worked this process of deciding what kind of relationship I want to have with this person. I'd actually kind of articulate, hey, this is what I'm thinking this relationship is with this person. And then let them decide, are we thinking the same thing? Are we okay? So are we the dynamic duo? So do we go all the games together? If you in a fight, do I jump in? If I'm in a fight, you jump in. Do you squash beef before I even get around the corner? You know what I mean? If somebody's got beef with me, what kind of friend are we? Are we not? Are we just cool when it's time to be cool? Either way, let me know, because whatever friendship that I've decided and whatever friendship you decide, that is what it is. So then when we break those ties, we break that kind of standard of our relationship, it's all good. You know, and so I know what loyalty means to you, and also know what loyalty means to me. Like I remember, the old TV show Punk'd back in the day. You know, I'm so big about loyalty and who I can trust that I remember that my agent, my wife, a couple of other friends, they were all in on it. And so the whole thing that they said afterwards, right after the show, and of course I figured it out, Ashton, I'm going to get you back one day. The whole thing is, I was like, oh man, I can't believe y'all got me. And they all said, we were all so nervous that you wouldn't take it the right way, because loyalty is a big thing to you. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because if I can't trust you, then we don't have the same kind of relationship. If I think that something is more important to you, that's of course in order. You mean, now everybody's married and kids, and those things should be more important. Your faith, your walk, what God's telling you to do, amen, keep it going. But after that, the people that are close to me, if what I think is loyal and I see them break that, then I got to put them at the power with the people that are not loyal. And so it just shifts all relationships. And so this is what I tell teenagers, college kids, and this is what I even tell adults. Hey, do you have some real friends? I mean, the Bible's clear. If you got one, you've considered a blessed man, you know? And so do you have any real friends? Now, decide what kind of loyalty that friendship is, and then live that life. And then don't be scared if they don't want to match that. That just means that's not that person. And you'll take that through with marriage, and you'll take that through with friendships. You'll take that through with every area. But you decide and know, here's truth again. Not everybody's going to be a real friend. It'll happen in seasons. And some seasons there'll be great friendships. I got some great high school friends, and the relationships just are not as tight as they used to be. I had some great college friends, and some of the relationships just aren't as tight as they were. Back then, I mean, tight. You know, I mean, I can't even explain the love that I have for some of my brothers and teammates back in the day. Here today, life just changed. My priorities, my decisions, what I call as loyalty and close and knit, they don't. And that's okay. We no longer fit like we used to. You know what I mean? We no longer fit like the gym shoes you had to wear back in the day when you outgrew them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But that's okay. It happens. But in this season, I know who's around me. I know who's with me. And if they don't fit, then they don't actually fit the season. And that's okay.
Wow. That's so huge. You're listening to the Finish the Game podcast. I'm Claude Jennings. He's Shaun Alexander. And Shaun, it seems as we are wrapping things up on this podcast as far as the Finish the Game, anything you want to say about Alabama, Roll Tide?
Oh, yeah, man. And you already know, man. I was up there. I got on Instagram. I was shouting Roll Tide with everybody. I was hyped after the game. And my wife had taken the oldest three girls to a concert. And so they was gone. So I'm running up and down with the boys, because this is my two boys. We run up and down screaming and hollering and we Roll Tide with everybody. Bama's resilience, down 24-3, and they're like, we just go fight. That's what Bama people do. That's a part of our football bloodline. We gonna fight to the end, and so the way they came back was so good, so fun to be a part of. Screaming and hollering, jumping up and down. It was great, and I expect many more. But you remember, like I told you, one of the games, and we can't leave the show without talking about that boy from Louisville, Lamar Jackson.
He put it on.
I got Jackson in my family. Man. He might have actually, after last week, he might have claimed cousin. He might be cousin Lamar Jackson. Oh man, he put on a show, and I know his family is just proud of him. They just like, yeah, good job, son, because he worked it out, man, and easily just jumped right into that Heisman conversation, easily jumped them into that top. I mean, they beat Florida State. Like Florida State was talking about their grandmama, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It was bad. And I knew that Louisville was going to make that day special, honoring Muhammad Ali, and Layla Ali was in town, and those are all just part of the pride of Louisville. And so I knew they were making that game special, but that boy right there, he took it to another level. And so I just say big ups Lamar Jackson, keep doing your thing. College football is so interesting because the rest of this week, there's some games that, they used to be big games, you know what I mean? But you're not really sure yet anymore, Tennessee versus Florida. That used to be a big game, Stanford, UCLA. It used to be a big Michigan versus Penn State. We got some big games that used to be big. You know what I mean? Only one that actually has anything is undefeated Arkansas versus undefeated Texas A&M. And then both of them got to play Bama. So, so pretty much this is going to be a weird week, but fun, traditional football. So it'll be good. But what's going to be great is in the NFL. Mm-hmm. You got some really big games. Now, once I got to give a shout out to your Dallas Cowboys.
I want to say that's where I am right now. That's the only thing I'm focused on right now.
Hey, I was about to say, I already know your Cowboys. And so, so Dak Prescott, he looks like, man, he's thrown 75 passes and no interceptions.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, he looks like
pretty good.
He looks like he's the quarterback of the future. And everyone seems to be, on the same page right now, from Dak to Jerry Jones to Jason Garrett, saying, "Hey, this is Tony's team." But we all know what that means. I mean, it means it's his team until it's not. And so we'll see what happens. But Dak's looking good. I keep going back to Coach Ivy Williams when it comes to Zeke. Man, he called it. Zeke with those 2 fumbles put the game in jeopardy against the Redskins. But our boy Alf came in there and scored that touchdown. Did his home run swing back at FedEx, and again, Dallas got the win. So I'm looking with some anticipation, but we'll see what happens with the Bears this weekend.
I mean, I remember this clearly. I was behind a legend, a supposedly future Hall of Fame Ricky Waters, and he deserves it when he does finally go. I was behind a legend, and I tell you, I came in them games and busted them long runs, and they was like, "Oh, we know you're a legend, Rick, but maybe the time is now." And I'm telling you, Romo's a legend, man. He held it down, and he's had many great games. But I mean, they play the Chicago Bears this week.
Right.
They're gonna be 3-0 for the first time in a long time.
They'll be 2-1. They lost that game to the Giants that last second.
Oh, that's right.
They'll be 2-1. But then they've got San Francisco the week after that. They very well could be 3-1. I mean, I don't look too far ahead, but yeah, they could be 3-1. And after only winning one game all last season without Romo, winning the 3 out of the first 4 without him, I mean, that could be the sign right there.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, like, if Seattle, if Seahawks do what they're supposed to do against San Fran, just physically beat them up like they've done for years. If they beat them up, and now they go against Dallas the next week, and they limping in against Dallas, you got a 3-1 team, and then my Seahawks, they happy. I mean, it was a rough one for Seattle though last week. Let's be real. I'm kind of not sure what's happening out there because the offense, my boys calling me up like, Shaun, you got any carries left? I'm like, no. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, no. But I do remember this, though. I do remember leaving Seattle, and I played my year with the Redskins, and then and just still being a Seahawks fan, watching Hasselbeck, whom I love, who's doing a great job at ESPN now, watching him without me and without some of the boys, he didn't look as polished, as I thought he was. Mm-hmm. And so I'm still trying to make look, he threw back-to-back 4 interception games. I was like, Matt, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. But it's just a different team. So I'm giving Russ a little bit more time to kind of figure that out. But yeah, it looks rough. They only scoring like 6 points or something like that, 10 points a game. It's bad, and I know it just does not look good. So we're going to give Seattle a little chance, but the defense is still solid. Hopefully they pull off this win with San Fran, and then they on their way. But we got some big games before we end out. We got New England versus the Houston Texans tomorrow. And what's your boy name?
Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, man. NC State.
Jacoby Brissett. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine that? He just, hey, look up. I'm the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots, and we 2-0. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
He just woke up out of bed feeling good today. So good luck to him, man. And they got a tough one. JJ Watts is on the other side licking his chop, talking about I'm gonna get him. But you got Minnesota versus Carolina. That's gonna be a good one. Minnesota's 2-0 and they look good. Then you got they got that big injury to
they got that big injury to Adrian Peterson. He tore up his knee. Last game against Green Bay. It looks like he's going to be out several months, and so that's a whole different dynamic. I mean, you already are without Bridgewater, but you were able to win the first two. Then AP goes down. We're going to see what this team is made of. They still have a good defense and a solid offensive line, but we're going to see what they're made of.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, so what do you think? Will the Redskins actually win 2 games before the 6th week? That's my question.
Well, you know how I feel about the Redskins. I'm not the biggest Redskins fan, but I will say, will they? I don't know. What about the Giants next week? Redskins, Giants, who you taking? I think the Giants will win this one. I think the Giants' defensive line is really, really improved. I mean, they shut down the Saints' offense and gave Drew Brees a really, really hard time. You saw what they did against Dallas. I mean, it came down to that last drive, but Dak had a lot of pressure on him all game. The Giants spent money on that defensive line. That defensive line is much improved. And then you've got this whole thing with the Redskins as far as Josh Norman. Who's he going to cover? Is he going to shadow the best receiver, or is he just going to stay on one side? It's going to be a mix of the two. Well, now you got the Giants, who has Victor Cruz, who looks like he's back, and Odell Beckham Jr. So it doesn't matter whether he stays on one side or shadows the other. They've got that, and they've got a pretty good, decent running game. Eli Manning is a 2-time Super Bowl champion. So I think the Redskins may be in for an 0-3 start. And you know how fast quarterback controversies and things of that nature starts in this city.
I already
so
feel bad for Cousins, man. Well, so here it is. Okay, they play the Giants. That's probably a loss. Then they play the Browns. That's probably a win.
Yeah, they can get that.
Then they go to Ravens. We might get 2 wins, maybe. Then it's the Eagles. That's a loss.
The way the Eagles are looking right now, yeah, man.
So if they don't beat the Ravens, then they finally play the Detroit Lions. So they're going to look up and go 1, 2. They got 2, maybe 3 wins. Other than that, it's just bad down the hill because then it's the Bengals and the Vikings and the Packers and the Cowboys. Bad. It gets bad from that point on. They going to have to hopefully get to Christmas and beat the Bears. Who look just ridiculous. So yeah. So hey. So but before we finish the show, man. Pittsburgh, Philly, big game. Shout out to the whole Pennsylvania area, and it's going to be a big game for them. And I would just say this, man, as we hear the music and wind it out. So happy for my teenage daughter, and happy for all the lives. There's so many friends I know that are having babies. So, man, all y'all train up your children. All you great coaches, thank you for being in my life and keep on impacting your team. And all you all finish the game.